Hello everyone, this is Nicole Sargent RJ Regester for HeadsUpSitAndGo.com, bringing you today's Mindset Minute. And today what we're going to talk about is a question that somebody had about moving up in stakes and consequently spazzing out. So here's the question. Basically the guy is asking, or girl, like everyone, I'm trying to move up in stakes. I take a stab every day, and if it's successful, I proceed, and if not, I move back down again. My problem is every time I attempt to move up, I start spazzing out like a schoolboy on his first date, spewing chips everywhere, and thinking 8-3 offsuit is pocket aces. Nice little picture of spew there. Alright, the most common reason for this kind of thing to occur is issues with the way you think about your bankroll. And the first thing it's very critical to do is that if you're going to move up in stakes and take shots, that you actually have the appropriate bankroll to do so. A lot of people do take shots under rolled. They decide that one shot is not that big deal and they can go ahead and risk it. But if that one shot actually constitutes a hefty percentage of your bankroll, then it is a problem. And a lot of people often then freeze up and play suboptimally because they're aware that they don't actually have the necessary bankroll to play at those stakes. So if you're taking shots at a stake that you're not really rolled to play and it's affecting your game, then stop doing that. The second most common thing, specifically in regards to bankroll, that can lead to people having problems when they try to move up in stakes, even if they are properly rolled, is that they're thinking about their bankroll in terms of actual dollars instead of in terms of big blinds. And what I mean by that is, if you're playing, $10 no limit and you had, a bankroll of $300, which would be 30 big blinds, and then you wanted to move up to $20 no limit, if you had a $600 bankroll, it would still be 30 big blinds. But because the bets are actual larger in terms of dollar amounts, that can mess with some people's heads. They're like, I'm betting more than I used to bet, and it makes them feel uptight and uncomfortable. So it's very important when you're playing poker not to think about it in terms of actual dollars, but to think about it in terms of big blinds. And if you're properly rolled, if you have more than enough big blinds in your bankroll, then try to see beyond the dollars and think about your bet sizing in terms not of how many actual physical dollars it is, but in terms of how many big blinds it is. So that's just basically what I was talking about. If you're spewing when you move up because you're not comfortable with that stake because you don't have a big enough bankroll, then just stop doing it. Just one more thought. Some people, when they move up, they're properly bankrolled. They don't necessarily have problems thinking about their bankroll in terms of dollars versus big blinds, but they move up with this assumption that their standard game is not sufficient to beat the next higher level, so they start trying to make different kinds of plays, and they change up their game in a lot of ways that's pretty suboptimal. So basically what you want to do is basically remind yourself, if you're beating the current stake you're at, your standard game is probably good enough to at least compete at the next higher level. So just drop the assumption that the next higher level is so much more difficult and so much more skilled that your standard game isn't good enough. And one good way of helping yourself make the mental transition, if you are sufficiently bankrolled and have the discipline to move up in stakes, is to start by just phasing in like one table of the next higher stake while you're still playing tables of your lower stake. That way it forces you to play the same way that you've been playing at all the tables in order to keep playing and keep making money at your current level, and you just keep adding in more higher stakes tables as you get comfortable playing the game at that upper level. So as a final recap, don't move up if you don't have the bankroll to do so. Don't think about your bankroll in terms of dollars, but in terms of big blinds. Don't make drastic adjustments to your standard game without a good reason. And I just moved up one level is not a good reason to just suddenly make drastic changes to your game. And finally, don't assume your game can't beat the next level if you're beating your current level. And that has been, once again, this is Nicole Sargent RJ Regester for HeadsUpSitAndGo.com with your Mindset Minute.